Hello, it's Josh Harris, Seeger Swole. This week, we're talking about risk factors. Risk factors that cause chronic disease or illness are different from infectious diseases. Reason being, infectious diseases are directly related to bacteria and viruses. Risk factors, not so much. Kind of an analogy, say there's a crime, a robbery, right? And the police see this one individual and they suspect that since he's always hanging around the crime scene that he or she is tied to that crime in some way. Now there's not a lot of conclusive evidence to tie them to that crime, but they do suspect that they're related in some way, that it's related in some way. So without that conclusive evidence or that individual being caught in the act, they can't say with definite certainty that that individual is guilty. Same way as it relates to risk factors. They haven't been exactly caught in the act related to chronic disease, like a direct relation to chronic disease, but it is suspected that with these risk factors present in one's life, it is more likely that you're going to develop a chronic disease. The main cluster of risk factors are going to be age, environment, behavior, lifestyle, genetics, stress, and diet. These clusters commonly act in conjunction with one another, so it makes it hard to estimate to what extent each one contributes specifically to a chronic disease. For instance, let's talk about an individual on the low side of the risk factor scale. This individual would maintain a healthy diet. They would exercise at least 150 minutes or be physically active at least 150 minutes out of the week. They wouldn't have any family history or genetic history of a chronic disease like hypertension or CVD. And they wouldn't smoke, they wouldn't consume heavy amounts or excessive amounts of alcohol or drugs. So this person would be seen as low on the risk factor scale. For the other side of the spectrum, let's say that an individual has poor dieting. They have a lot of saturated fat, salts, and surplus calories. To add to that, let's say the individual doesn't exercise, so they become obese or overweight. That in and of itself right there, you're already inching towards an increased risk factor. So you add on top of that more risk factors like CVD or hypertension runs in their family history, and perhaps maybe they smoke, drink, or do other various types of drugs. You can already see how that is now going to increase your risk factor for chronic diseases. The hit point. Obviously everybody's going to be different risk factors to consider, but if you want to mitigate those risk factors, start by looking at your family history and genetics. If your immediate bloodline has a history of chronic disease like hypertension or diabetes, then it's a reasonable assumption that you might be susceptible too. Once medical history has been examined, then look for the most influential risk factors that can be changed. For example, if you have the occasional job stress versus your smoking habit, I would address the smoking habit versus the stress. In the end, what it's all about is just reducing your risk factor, plain and simple. You only have one body, why not take care of it? That's really all the information I have for the video. Been in the gym way too long, but if you liked it, give it a share, give it a like, hit the like button, whatever. I'm Josh Harris, Seeger Swole. I'm out.